Hi, this is Mike. Today, I want to talk to you about how we can prove that God exists scientifically. The Bible diagnoses humanity's deepest need and then prescribes what it claims is the only antidote: God saves sinners. Is there an intellectual basis for believing in God? Or is being religious just a matter of blind faith? Are there reasonable proofs for God? Christianity invites scrutiny into its claims and the reasons for trusting them. Are there reasonable proofs for God? In December 2004 it was announced that longtime British professor and philosopher, Anthony Flew, regarded by many as the world's most acclaimed atheist, had renounced his atheism in favor of theism. This dramatic conversion has been likened by astrophysicist and now one of the world's leading cosmologists, Dr. Hugh Ross, as having the same impact on the academic world as an announcement that Billy Graham had renounced Christianity would have on the church. One of the reasons cited by Professor Flew was the evidence. He admitted that for a long time the growing problem of evolution's inability to explain how life began, or for that matter, how anything began, led him to the inevitable conclusion that it was an inadequate answer in the face of the evidence. Then when the DNA genome code was unraveled, the evidence for design became undeniable. These two pieces of evidence: first, the existence of life demanding a life source, and two, the scientific evidence of an extremely complex code in the makeup of that life or DNA, were enough for Professor Flew to renounce atheism. So how do we prove that God exists? Some people feel that acceptance of God is entirely a matter of blind faith. But the scriptures actually claim that it is the truth, which is the basis for this faith. Read Romans 10:17. Truth is only truth if it is objective truth, that is, it is true for everyone regardless of time or circumstances. Thus, God is either true, and there can be objective proofs to support this, or he is not true, and only subjective truth can be offered for proof. Some medieval philosophers, such as Anselm, argued that the fact mankind can imagine there being a God is itself proof that there must be one. While this argument does have some merit, drawing on the positive aspects of human intuition, it has limitations. Taken to its natural application, anything that can be imagined must exist. This argument is an aspect of the ontological argument. The Greek word onto means person. What Anselm was actually arguing for was that the universe displays the qualities of having been designed by a person. This includes an innate sense in those created by this person that they have a creator. The Apostle Paul described this knowledge as plain. If you read Romans 1:19, knowledge, and in order to ignore it, a person needed to suppress the truth, see Romans 1:18. Ontology therefore also involves a certain reality to the world that includes not merely the physical, natural, material, laws of chemistry and physics, but also the reality of the world created with moral and psychological laws. To pretend that these laws do not exist is like being at the deep end of a swimming pool with a really big beach ball and denying that this ball wants to float on the surface. The claim that the universe has no such ontological realities, such as moral laws, is like suppressing that beach ball below the surface of the water of the pool in the vain belief that it requires no effort to do so. Even if a person believes that universal moral laws do not exist or that beach balls really do not want to float on the surface of a swimming pool, their belief does not negate the contradictory reality. Read 1 Corinthians 1 verses 21-25, where it states, "For since, in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and folly to Gentiles, but to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men." Tertullian once bragged that the main reason he so readily accepted Christianity was that it was fundamentally absurd. Perhaps he was alluding to 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses, which talks about incompatible human wisdom and divine wisdom. Some people are so committed to their beliefs that despite the evidence of truth they refuse to change their beliefs. In this way, we observe that what some atheists claim as their scientific basis for unbelief is nothing more than their belief in their wishful opinions rather than evidence. Thus, despite the massive evidence to the contrary, many atheists refuse to accept that the origin of life is best explained by what appears to be obvious: a designer, the creator. We have to applaud Professor Flew for having the courage to consider and then accept the evidence. Proof though is measured, evaluated, and determined according to the type of claim. The type of proof needed to substantiate a claim involving chemistry is different from the type of proof needed to substantiate a claim made about history. Proof in physiology is different from the type of proof needed for psychology. Proof in philosophy is different from the proof required for philology. The proof required for biology is different from the type of proof required for theology. To demand that hard science, physics, biology, chemistry, astronomy, and proof tests be the only acceptable means for testing a soft science, psychology, history, philosophy, and literature claim is unreasonable. Thus, imposing natural proof tests on supernatural claims is an unreasonable measure and totally inadequate. But where supernatural claims are made which have natural implications, such as an invisible God created all that we see, according to Romans 1:20, proof takes on the garb of supporting or cumulative evidence when looking at the natural evidence to support this supernatural claim. So, what is the evidence for this claim? There has been a rash of very articulate and passionate atheists such as Richard Dawkins, the late Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, and Daniel Dennett, who have attacked theism, that is, the belief in God, by attacking religious fundamentalism, the poor behavior of those claiming to believe in God and their abuse of religious rules to oppress people. The type of God these religious fundamentalists promote is not the God I am arguing for. But to some it is going to sound like it. C.S. Lewis artfully makes the point in The Magician's Nephew that there can be several people confronted with the evidence for God, yet they can interpret that evidence quite differently. Lewis describes Uncle Andrew's direct encounter with Aslan where he vehemently denied what he was seeing and hearing as making himself look stupid. And Lewis, the former atheist himself, continues, "Now the trouble about trying to make yourself stupider than you really are is that you very often succeed. Uncle Andrew did. When it comes to proof for God, the evidence is cumulative and therefore acceptable proof. This evidence, or proof, for the existence of God, invites those atheists to consider it, especially for those who claim that there is none. At the very least it should be reasonably concluded that atheism, the absolute claim that there is no God after considering all possible knowledge, is a highly irrational position." The second, third, and fourth videos in this series discuss the 5 proofs for the existence of God. Be sure you check out the next video which will discuss the first 2 proofs of the existence of God. To find videos on other topics check out our videos on the Nehemiah Reset.org website or on our Nehemiah Reset channel on Rumble. I look forward to seeing you on another one of our videos in the near future. Have a great day.